You've heard about the Bibb County Sheriff's deputy shortage causing slow response times, but it's creating another problem: temporary protective orders designed to shelter victims from their abusers. Well, some are not getting served.
At one point, up to 40% of those orders never got delivered, leaving victims' lives on the line. Anthony Montalto shares two women's experiences in tonight's 13 Investigates.
A temporary protective order, or TPO, is a document designed to help a domestic violence victim get away from their abuser. Now, it usually includes a restraining order, but in two cases we found the process didn't work. The failures could have contributed to one woman's murder, another who now lives constantly on guard. We've agreed to not identify her because she's a victim with court dates still on the calendar. Lasmaki Fountain. Her family remembers her as their treasure.
Loving person, very beautiful, a great mother, and she absolutely loved to dance.
Fountain died in 2015 after her boyfriend shot her in a domestic dispute.
You never know, it could impact people around you.
For years, her family's maintained the sheriff's office didn't do enough to keep her safe. Derek Booz had several arrest warrants at the time, and court documents show another problem: an unserved temporary protective order filed almost a year before Fountain's death. 7 years later, Dee Sims with Crisis Line and Safe House of Central Georgia says that problem persists. Just earlier this year,
there's over 40% of TPOs that were being dismissed, not for lack of merit and not that the petitioner didn't need the TPO, but for lack of service.
Meaning there was no deputy available to serve the protective order, or the deputy in charge of serving it couldn't locate the alleged abuser.
You'd be surprised how wise some respondents get to the whole process, and they evade service.
That's what happened to Fountain and to another Bibb County woman who says she's trying to leave an abusive relationship.
Law enforcement deficit has made my personal situation a lot more difficult.
Bibb Superior Court documents show Judge David Mincy ordered the sheriff's office to serve a temporary protective order to the woman's ex on October 15th of last year. Several days went by with no service, her fear building, so she took matters into her own hands.
I had to drive to a neighboring county and pay their civil process, their service process fees, and have a neighboring county deliver the documents to where they needed to go.
Court records show a deputy in Monroe County served the documents October 27th. Bibb County submitted a form November 2nd saying they could not find the man after a, quote, diligent search.
I think for having a lack of the number of deputies means that you have more of a workload on each individual deputy.
After a year, her order expired. Now she lives with a new reality.
You have to make sure that all of your surveillance cameras are operational. You put up fencing, lock the doors, multiple locks on every exterior door, barring the doors. And you're concerned that if you did call and ask for help, from the people who are supposed to be able to help you, that they may not be able to make it there in time.
Sheriff David Davis acknowledged to county commissioners that they still have problems serving orders. 6 of Macon's homicide victims this year died in domestic violence situations.
Deputy shortage plays a role in it, but just whenever you have so many temporary protective orders.
He's presented a possible solution: grant-funded training for the deputies in partnership with the Crisis Line and Safe House. It will include service of temporary protective orders.
It is so very important that that service be perfected.
Sims says things are getting better. Crisis Line now hires off-duty deputies to serve TPOs outside normal business hours, which means fewer going unserved.
The percentage has dropped down into the low teens.
But Fountain's family can't turn back the clock, and other victims pray
She will not leave in vain, not at all.
Sims acknowledges that while improving service doesn't erase the pain victims and their families suffered in the past, she hopes it may help others avoid it in the future. For 13 Investigates, I'm Anthony Montalto.
If you or someone you love is experiencing domestic violence, help is within reach. Crisis Line and Safe House of Central Georgia has a 24/7 hotline at 478-745-9292. Again, that's 478-745-9292.
They have legal services to help with temporary protective orders, a confidential shelter, and a counseling center. For more information on Crisis Line, look for this story at 13WMAC.com.